Voices of Grace is a presentation of Grace Hill Settlement House with RareGem Productions, proudly presenting, promoting, and producing positive programs. Learn more at OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com.
We want to share with our listeners and with St. Louis the inspirational and true stories of people who have found their way by the grace of God, by the grace of seeking help, having a hand to hold. We want people to know that nobody gets where they are without somebody walking with them. And that's who we are.
These are the Voices of Grace. We'll be right back. I'm Jade Harrell. Paul, what is your personal idea of grace?
Well, I think it starts with a lot of hard work. It starts with really, pulling everybody together to do their best to help the entire community. Some of the critical parts of my work aren't just executing one program or, helping one school, but really stitching together the different support services, different programs, different, community assets, community members, everything that makes a community healthy or not healthy.
What is grace? Grace for me is an opportunity for people to be under an umbrella and have their weaknesses strengthened. Working together, joining hands, collaborating, networking, just providing all the resources they need to overcome barriers, to build bridges, to meet challenges and be successful.
Hi, this is producer Jade Harrell, and I'm so excited about how my business is growing and how much I'm learning. I can't wait to plug into the resources and opportunity that are happening at the MoCare Minority Business Symposium happening on May 8th and May 9th at the Union Station Hotel. I know I need to be at the symposium, but here's why you do too. Companies will give you step-by-step instructions on how to do business with them. Personal time to meet company executives and decision makers that can give business specifically to you. Get acclimated to MoCare, the only organization in St. Louis whose main goal is to help companies just like yours win big contracts. And finally, we need to be at the symposium to increase our bottom line and grow our businesses. Register your business today at mocansymposium.com or call Yafet El Amin at 314-454-9675. That's 314-454-9675 for sponsorship and vendor opportunities. Let them know you heard it from RareGem. RareGem Productions proudly presenting the positive. These are the Voices of Grace.
Getting together in little focus area groups around education, around public safety, around neighborhood services, around housing, these really critical elements of community planning and community, service provision that, frankly, there are a lot of us who work in a community, but the dots don't always connect.
Right. I'm a member of the community where I live, and I have a responsibility as a person, as an adult, as a human being to make sure that it's safe and it's fun there.
My name is Paul Sorenson. I am Grace Hill's Manager of Community Building, which means that I work on a number of programs, including our educational support programs, school community partnerships, and also some of our community organizing, community engagement efforts, particularly around the College Hill neighborhood.
Hi, my name is Velma Bailey, and I'm a neighbor in the Grace Hill community, and I'm a community volunteer.
These are the Voices of Grace. Did you know that Grace Hill Settlement House partners with neighborhood schools around the area? They do that to extend their reach to children beyond Head Start. They serve over 200 children and their families within a comprehensive family support structure, as well as 2 after-school programs. Now, the program involves children of 3 local schools with learning opportunities and assistance with factors such as healthy food, which often affects a child's ability to learn. The story really picks up when the neighbors offer a helping hand to support these kids. Here to tell us about this new and unique initiative is Manager of Community Building, Paul Sorenson, and the helping hand of our local neighbor, Mrs. Velma Bailey. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Jay.
Paul, let's start with you. Tell me more about the Comprehensive Family Support Program.
Right. So this program is at Clay Elementary School. It's an elementary school close to our Water Tower Hub location in North St. Louis in the Hyde Park neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And Clay is a school that has a lot of strengths, has a very strong principal, offered a lot of community support services. But what it also saw was very high need for some of their student and family population. Okay. And this high need meant that even if the school had the best teachers in the classroom, there were things that were making the students not ready to learn.
Sure. What are some of those things?
So some of those things include, a lack of other support services like mental health services, like case management, just trying to scrape by with utility payments or rental payments. A lot of the housing in the neighborhood, even if it's, ready to occupy, oftentimes there are absentee landlords. The housing really isn't up to date or nice in a way. And it really just sort of trips people up.
Sure. And how does that translate to the student in the seat? In the desk?
How that translates is that a school like Clay, because of all of these issues that the school can't really control within its own walls, really impacts what happens within the school walls. So you see schools like Clay have a high mobility rate. And what that means is that there are more students coming into the school or leaving the school after the school year starts than there are that begin in the sort of normal enrollment period. And that makes things really difficult for teachers. When a student leaves halfway through a semester, or comes in and you don't know where they stand, it becomes very difficult to teach in an effective way. And that's something we're trying to address.
I could see that. So what makes this program unique then?
So this sort of program is, nationally, there are a lot of people who are beginning to understand that to really transform the school environment, you have to do more than just prepare the teachers. It's a big part of it, but especially in low-income communities, it's not enough. Where we think that we can offer a unique program is growing from our base of Head Start. So we have around 1,500 students in Head Start, hundreds of which are in the area where Clay Elementary School is. And so what we hope to offer is a bridge between Head Start and the local elementary schools, providing a continuum of service and support to those families who need it most.
Sure. And would you be able to apply that with the mobility concern as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the mobility concern, what makes it so important to focus on is that it really is the culmination of a lot of other needs. The reason why people are moving in and out oftentimes are due to a lack of these social supports that we can provide in Head Start and some of our other community building efforts,
right,
and in particularly surrounding the schools.
Certainly, and with your community partners like Grace Hill and volunteers that can help bridge the areas where you need that support in order to be stable inside a school.
Absolutely. And, one of the things we're also doing that I also manage is the College Hill Collaborative.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Tell our listeners a little more about that.
Yeah, so the College Hill Collaborative right now is a group of around 40 to 50 service providers that serve the College Hill neighborhood. Now, these aren't only organizations that have an office in College Hill or organizations that have specific funding to deliver services, but there are people who are all necessary pieces to understanding and really implementing, programs that help make a community healthy. So they include the, mental health services, the Crime Victim Advocacy Center, the YMCA, St. Louis Police Department, all of these different important players that people interact with.
Right.
Here, there, and everywhere. But what we really try to do is get them all into one place and say, how can we communicate our collective strength to the people who are in the community and who are really would most benefit from the services that we already provide.
That's pretty nice. Have you had these meetings already?
The meetings have been going on once a month in one form or another for about 2 years now, actually.
Nice.
But in the last 6 months, we've really tried to strengthen the planning component of it. So we actually just had a meeting yesterday. Velma was there and about 30 other people were there, getting together in little focus area groups around education, around public safety, around neighborhood services, around housing, these really critical elements of community planning and community, service provision that, frankly, there are a lot of us who work in a community, but the dots don't always connect.
Right.
And it's a very frustrating thing,
It can be.
especially because we spend so much money, because there's such a high area of need, and there's always a demand that we need to do better.
That's right. And so by having these meetings and coming together, the conversations, you found that's kind of filled in those gaps.
Right. It certainly is beginning to fill in those gaps, understanding who's around the table. And those services can then be utilized at Clay Elementary School, which we work with Bryan Hill Elementary School, which I can see out my office window, and with anyone who is, within Head Start, within the community, who happens to enter our doors for whatever reason they do.
Sure. Well, tell me more about the other schools that are involved.
Great. So yeah, Clay Elementary School has the largest program. So we have 2.5 full-time case managers. We try to enroll every student at the school and their families. It's really sort of our largest signature effort around community school partnerships. But we know that it's not the only school in the area, and that our areas of strength really extend, beyond Clay to the larger 63107 zip code, which includes Bryan Hill. And Bryan Hill Elementary School, a great elementary school. It's accredited with distinction. The principal there, Dr. Briscoe, is amazing. We have the privilege of working with Dr. Briscoe at Bryan Hill and Dr. Owens at Clay Elementary School, who have been fantastic partners.
Absolutely.
We also provide an after-school program at Jefferson Elementary School. That's primarily through one of our partners, Urban Strategies. But by forming those partnerships, like we were talking about with the collaborative, that's really the glue that makes everything stick together.
Exciting. So what do you see happening with a child during these programs? If you paint the picture for us, what would his typical day or experience be like?
Well, I think that we'll start with the bigger picture.
All right.
Right. So Robert would be someone who would be living in the College Hill neighborhood.
Okay.
Whose, parent, whose mom would be connected to Grace Hill.
Of course.
Who would go to Grace Hill Head Start for a couple years to really get that excellent, education, that early education, those enrichment opportunities through PNC and some of our other partners. And then when they are done with Head Start, when they're ready to graduate, that then if they go on to a Clay Elementary School, we can transfer the connections, we can transfer the knowledge we have, and we can make it so there's very little interruption. So how it translates to someone like Robert, especially if Robert is, in an unstable situation or whose, parent is really struggling to find employment or to keep that job, to have a comprehensive and consistent way to really support people in the ways that they're looking for.
Right.
And so, from a day-to-day basis, Robert may be able to go into our family support office at Clay, talk to one of our case managers there if there is an issue, but his mom could do the same thing.
That's great.
So really you can't look at a child in a vacuum.
That's right.
Of course, their parents affect them. Of course, their community affects them. And what we're trying to say is we understand that, and we want to design and deliver programs that take in that reality.
Sure. By the way, do you have a literacy program for Robert and other children?
A literacy program? Yeah. So the after school programs that we're actually running, at Bryan Hill and Jefferson and perhaps at Clay in the future are focused around literacy.
Great.
It's a balanced literacy program. It's called Succeeding with Reading. It was written by, again, one of our partners, and really has the opportunity to increase reading levels substantially. So we had this culminating event at Bryan Hill last year, and each of the students got a certificate for how many reading levels they jumped. And, those are like A, B, C, D. Yeah. And you saw a lot of kids go from, at the beginning of the year, they were a B, and then they were at an L.
Oh, wow.
So they were jumping very significantly in reading.
Are you able to involve the family in this as well?
We are. So the families were, for that ceremony, they were invited. That's great. Have meetings, to get more of their feedback, and more are working on just sort of opening that conversation. Because of course, we provide services, we're funded to provide certain services, all that boring stuff. but really, if we're not directly responding.
That's actually really good news for us to hear. That's actually really the great news, because that's often the great challenge. So
right.
I'm thankful to hear that.
Yeah, but ultimately, if we're not providing services that the community says they need, right? It's not just that we can look at, the cold data, but we need to talk to people.
That's right.
And we've been having town hall meetings, advisory council meetings to engage people to say, hey, we think this is a good program, but it's not a good program if you don't think it is too.
There we go. How would that invitation go out, Paul, from your department and where you do your main work to connect with someone in the community, one of our listeners, to be involved in this?
Absolutely. Well, I certainly don't do it alone. We have, a number of other great program managers, volunteers like Velma, AmeriCorps Vista workers, other people who oftentimes will go door to door, will pass out flyers to get people in the community. But one of the great things also about these school partnerships, right? Like a school is a great community hub. And so multiple times, yes, it should be. And I think oftentimes it is a hub, even if it's not the healthiest.
How about that?
And so so what we'll try to do is, we'll create flyers. We'll work with people at the front desk to sort of send them home with every parent, get the word out that way. It's both an art and a science.
Yes, it is. But now you also have the advantage of Voices of Grace to support it.
Absolutely. And we're very happy to come on the show today and talk about it.
Sure. So let's add our voice of our community, one of our volunteers, and just a community neighbor. I love that you said that. Miss Velma Bailey, and I have known for some time her commitment and passion to our children and our community. Velma, tell me how you are involved and what role you play in the community program.
Well, I'm a neighbor in the Grace Hill area, and for years I had this desire and this passion to get kids together in our neighborhood to take back our park and have safe activities there. And I got involved in the Weibo class to learn how to create a business. And a not-for-profit is a business that I didn't know.
It is.
So
it really is.
I took a lot of classes with the Grace Hill Weibo program, and it really enlightened me and opened up this whole world of my idea, not just being in my head and on paper, but actually taking flesh and walking into the park as children, having fun.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So why do you do this? Why do you love it so much?
The first thing is that I'm a member of the community where I live, and I have a responsibility as a person, as an adult, as a human being, to make sure that it's safe and it's fun there. And we wanted to provide a place where children could live, where they could learn, where they could play, and where they can work and just enjoy themselves. And families could feel safe about our park. For many years, the park we use, Fairgrounds Park, had been known as a place where people stayed away from. And when we first started our day camp, some of the people that live in the near area surrounding the park didn't even want their children to come there.
Not even to the park.
We've taken back that park, and we love it. And Grace Hill has been a big part of that for us.
That's beautiful. Well, I know that you've got enrollment going on this year as well. And have you increased each year your participation in your summer camp program at the park?
Yes, and this year we're expecting the lid to blow off. Okay. We started out with 25 children in our day camp the first year. Last year we had 63 children in the camp, and a third of those children that enrolled in our camp were there because of the connection that Grace Hill's Weibo program networked for us. They sent out our flyer. Well, first of all, we had a real nice person who convinced us that our flyer needed a little pizzazz, and that helped. But then when the members of my class and other people in our Weibo group got our flyer and started circulating it on social media and hand-to-hand to other people, it really increased our membership by 30 students in about, I'm going to say, maybe 11 or 12 days.
That's exciting. How wonderful. What an awesome recommendation. Well, with partnerships like this, working with our schools, working with businesses, nonprofits like yours to create that community environment, I can expect we'll see nothing more than increased success each year. So thankful for that.
But we don't
have a way to track that yet, and that's one of the things that my friends are going to help me do.
That's excellent.
And I want to say, too, that I'm also excited about being in the collaborative.
Yeah.
Because now I've gone from an isolated not-for-profit organization trying to get services to now working with a network of 50 friends.
That's right.
And any time that I go to those meetings, there's sometimes maybe 100 people there. And we have been able to develop a partnership with the St. Louis Public Library, where our children now walk to the library 2 days a week from Fairgrounds Park. And our literacy program is increasing because the kids are part of the summer reading program. We've been partnering with the O'Fallon Rec Center. Then they even came to us at the meeting yesterday and said, hey, why don't you increase your attendance to our facility from one time a summer to one time a week?
There we go.
We couldn't find that kind of support. And we operate our camp with no money. We operate on the benevolence of the community and people like Grace Hill who really see a need for what we're doing and are pushing us out there to serve people.
That's beautiful. Paul Sorenson and Velma Bailey, making our partnerships even better.
Allowing individuals to reach their full potential means giving everyone a fighting chance. Grace Hill Settlement House programs are designed to do just that, and the initiatives taking place at Clay Elementary, Bryan Hill Elementary, and Jefferson Elementary schools, with the help of the community, is bringing this mission to the next level.
Grace Hill Settlement House is a United Way partner agency serving the city of St. Louis. Through programs like Head Start, the Women's Business Center, and our More Dollar Network, we are helping individuals, families, and communities to be stronger, healthier, and more self-reliant. To learn more about Grace Hill and how we can help your family, please call 314-584-6904.
These are the Voices of Grace. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1903. Visit gracehill.org to learn of the multitude of resources and services that Grace Hill Settlement House offers, which includes early childhood, youth and family supports, aging and special needs, community and economic development. If you have more questions about the program, need help, send an email to info@oneraregem.com. That's info@oneraregem.com. Hear, feel, come to know, and join in the voices of grace.
Grace is able to sustain in anything you can dream of and anything that comes your way.
Voices of Grace is another positive production of RareGem Productions.